Alright, so today we're going to be looking at goblet front squats as an accessory work to help with anti-extension on the squat. Okay, this is for the clients and athletes that have an issue with overextending on a squat, right? So arching the lower back and not being able to stay neutral or keeping the ribs down and pelvis tucked like this, right? So for the athletes that end up extending either on the way up or on the way down or throughout the whole thing. So this is a really good tool for that because it's really easy to keep the hips under you, right? So with this, on these types of goblet squats, you're not trying to squat by pushing the hips back at all, right? So I'm pushing the hips back right here. This isn't what we're trying to do. Even though I'm staying neutral here, I'm still pushing the hips back. The thing with the goblet squat is you want to keep the hips directly under you. You want to let the pelvis tuck into posterior tilt. Keep the pelvis tucked under your ribs. Look at this line of my pants, right? It's not anteriorly tilting like this. The front isn't lower than the back, right? You don't want this. You want to be here, keeping that the whole time. And because there's virtually no load on these as an accessory, you want to let yourself round your back. Don't be scared of rounding the lower back. Let yourself round into flexion. Ribs are pinned. We're not lifting the chest at all or anything like that. We're keeping the ribs pinned down and the pelvis tucked. Essentially keeping this whole section very pinned together, right? Keeping the hips under you, squat, staying rounded, and even as you come out, you're staying rounded. You're not scooping up like this, right? We're not leading with the butt and extending. We're keeping the pelvis tucked entirely, rounded, 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 tucked, rounded, 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 tucked. Let's keep it super light. You're staying upright not by lifting the chest, you're staying upright by keeping the pelvis tucked under you. Don't be afraid to round and keep things forward, pelvis forward, tucked in front. So with these guys, I really want to reiterate the point with not extending the lower back at all, right? We're not letting the back arch like this, right? Because then that's exactly what we're trying to work on. So do not let the lower back arch like this. We're not trying to be anteriorly tilted and extended here. This is what we don't want, right? Keep this rounded, pelvis tucked. I can't stress it enough, right? Letting myself round, letting the hips stay under me the whole time, even as I come up. And if you're seeing that you come down correctly, but you come out with an arch, then slow down the ascent. Come out slower, don't rush out of the hole. Do not rush out of here. Make sure this is staying tucked in where you want it to be as you come out. Staying rounded. And of course, guys, I've been talking a lot about the hips, but the other component is the ribs, right? We're also not lifting the ribs up, and we're not pushing the ribs forward. You don't want to be like this with the ribs forward and pushing the butt out, right? So this should not be translating forward. Watch my ribs. Watch how they tuck back and down, right? I'm translating this. Instead of here, we're pulling it this way so that it can stay above the hips. So not here. We want to let the ribs pin back and down. And then the pelvis also tucks under it. So this, not this, okay? We're not pushing this forward, we're not letting this push forward. Keep this stacked here, not here. You see the difference in the ribs? Hopefully you're following along, but it's this, not this. You see the difference? We're not pushing the ribs out like this. We're keeping it all tucked here. So to reiterate, guys, last visual, okay? We are not extending and arching like this. Lower back is not arched. We don't want this. We want this. You see the difference between this and this? You'll also find that this takes tension away from the hip flexors. So staying tucked, tucked, rounded, rounded. Keeping that as you come out. See, I'm keeping the pelvis tucked the entire time. Alright, so with this, remember, ribs down, pelvis tucked. My show's not tucked anymore, but you know what I mean. Ribs are down, pelvis is tucked, not afraid to round. Staying upright by keeping the pelvis under us. Not by lifting the chest, right? The chest is still tucked, the pelvis is still tucked. Coming out the same way. Okay.